Greetings and welcome to another impressions video here at Words About Games, and today we're going to be looking at Darksiders 3. Darksiders 3 has managed to do to me what few games ever get the satisfaction of doing, making me drop my controller on the desk, non-violently of course, those things are expensive, immediately turn my console off and walk away from the game. 3 times to be specific. Darksiders 3 and its combination of bugs and dull or questionable design choices have made it so I just don't have a desire to play any more of it. Darksiders 3 is the long-awaited continuation of the Darksiders franchise, and one we didn't think we were going to get after THQ's downfall, carrying on the story of the Four Horsemen during the apocalypse from the previous 2 entries. After seeing what War and Death were up to, now it's the turn of Fury, the more hot-headed and reckless of the group, who is sent to Earth as the war between angels and demons tears the world apart. Her task is to find the 7 deadly sins who have been let loose and are causing havoc to the all-important balance between order and chaos that the Charred Council are desperately scrambling to preserve. It's fair to say that the previous games in the series have worn their inspirations proudly, with the series borrowing heavily from games like the Legend of Zelda series, with a heavy dose of Metroidvanias thrown into the mix for good measure. Darksiders 3 continues this tradition, but has a newfound inspiration: Dark Souls. This game isn't as challenging or as deep as Miyazaki's creation for sure, but it's plain to see for anyone who jumps into the game. Unfortunately for Darksiders 3, this feels like a dull imitation, stripped down to the bone and fundamentally missing the point of what makes Dark Souls tick. It also serves to miss the point of why older Darksiders games have something of a cult status among fans of the series, myself included. Almost everything in Darksiders 3 feels like it misses the mark, creating an experience that feels lifeless. Tying the action to a ruined, crumbling Earth was probably the game's biggest mistake. It makes sense from a narrative perspective, but it makes for a dull game. Gone are the varied and otherworldly environments of Darksiders 2, which sent players on an epic quest across the cosmos, replaced with ruined car parks, warehouses, subway tunnels, sewers, and a bunch of other places that feel really drab and uninspired. The apocalypse has never felt so pedestrian. It's not helped that Darksiders 3 is a painfully linear game, seeing you trek down a glorified tunnel from beginning to end, occasionally veering off the path by 6 or 7 steps to pick up an item before turning back and continuing on. Even when the game teases you with large open environments, it's just a facade, window dressing to make the game look and feel expansive while it shepherds you along its tight and narrow path to the next checkpoint. There's only ever one objective: get to the next boss, which for some reason is constantly marked on a compass at the top of your screen, as if it's even possible to go the wrong way or take a detour to complete another, non-existent objective. Perhaps if the combat was engaging, it'd be easier to ignore how suffocatingly linear this all feels. But it just feels thoroughly unsatisfying. It's mostly based on timed dodges, getting out of the way of telegraphed enemy attacks and unleashing a counter when they're vulnerable. If you time a dodge perfectly, you'll have the opportunity to do extra damage. That's basically all you'll be doing throughout the game. Dodge an attack, push X a few times, back off, and wait to repeat the entire thing again. Getting attacked by multiple enemies doesn't really mix this up at all. It just means you might have to dodge a couple of times before striking back. There's a variety to enemies and the ways in which they'll attack you, but your tactics never need to change, which ensures that it never feels like there's any variety to combat. Even bosses feel tedious, requiring no special effort to kill. They simply have 1 or 2 extra moves to dodge and a ton more health and damage output. You simply employ the same tactics, just over a longer period of time. There are actually plenty of combos or different attack patterns you can use in combat. Quite a lot actually. But when I try to use them and mix up my attacks, I was usually punished for it, making it pointless to use anything other than a basic attack. Even unlocking new hollows, which infuse Fury with a new element, weapon, and traversal ability, change very little except the colour of her hair and how high or far she can jump. Either way, dying is something that's best avoided, thanks to a terrible checkpoint system. Early on you encounter a demon who serves as a checkpoint and merchant, where you can spend souls to upgrade your health and damage or buy shards to replenish your health or fill up your other meters. Except you only encounter him at the beginning of a level, so if you die at the end of level boss, you're sent all the way back to the start, minus the items you used and the souls needed to purchase them. Souls stay wherever you died, even if you died again, making the entire mechanic feel kind of pointless. Worse, any items you collect will be gone, and once I even lost a particularly useful artifact due to meeting my untimely death before reaching a checkpoint, which was either a bug or incredibly mean-spirited. And then there are the bugs and glitches. Darksiders 3 stutters constantly, an annoyance in most games, but terminal in a game that requires precisely timed dodges and jumps. Hitting an invisible loading screen will see the game freeze for several seconds, and hitting an actual loading screen will see you stare at a useful tip for upwards of a minute waiting to jump back into the game. There are also a few smaller glitches, such as the one that pushed my frustration to the point that I'm probably done with the game, where an enemy I'd been fighting for a few minutes hit me into some rocks that I glitched through, unable to move until I was killed. As much as it pains me to say this as a fan of Darksiders 2, Darksiders 3 is a messy experience. It feels regressive compared to its predecessors, or most games that have come out this year. It's stripped down to the basics, which would be fine if those basics were implemented well. Instead, this is a deeply disappointing game filled with uninspired levels, dull combat, poor checkpoints, and some weird design choices, wrapped up in a poor technical performance that sees the game's frame rate constantly stuttering. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. If you've enjoyed it, please keep it here at Words About Games. We've got tons of content, including our weekly podcast, more impressions videos, patch notes, and our weekly indie game of the week. We also stream over on Twitch at twitch.tv/wordsaboutgames every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. And most importantly, have a great day.